Welcome.
Welcome to Talk to People podcast. This week we're going to talk about the tornado, from it happening and what was going on immediately. We're going to talk about the aftermath and how we have gotten to where we are today, and we're going to talk about looking to the future, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And last week I quoted Oscar Wilde from my own heritage background.
It wasn't Oscar Wilde.
And that's what I got after the show. I got in-house. I got some smacks. So guys, what's up with that?
Mark Twain. I looked this up trying to figure out what I was going to write, and it was Mark Twain that came up, not Oscar Wilde.
Well, I'll tell you, from my book.
Your book is wrong.
Edge. This is a great book for anybody that wants to get an edge
The wrong
on
information,
life.
apparently.
Oscar Wilde was from my homeland, and it does not surprise me that he was wiped from the annals of history for the writer of Tom Sawyer. We'll give that to the American dream right there. But it was Oscar Wilde. Okay, enough of that. Enough of that. Let's get into the show and talk about a disaster that came through our community. Deputy Jared Strand. Deputy, thank you for being with us today.
Hey, no problem.
You know, that night, or the following morning, Sheriff Booth said, hey, you really need to get with Deputy Strand. He has a really cool video. We're going to show that video here where you're pulling up, I think, to 177 and Hardesty Road, looking to the east. And you see this, Deputy, and off in the distance, there's an explosion. Boom. Set us up as to what brought you to this intersection. We see lightning continue to go off, but that explosion was kind of a surprise for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, we were setting up in that area, looking out west towards Bethel, trying to stay out of there because that's where we were told that the tornado was going to be coming through it. And so we kind of stationed to where we felt that we would be safe and out of any kind of danger.
Well, an interesting thing, we have a photo from Bethel that reveals, and this was on another lightning strike, it reveals two tornadoes on the ground, and we are now at ground zero, and you don't realize that there's multiple tornadoes.
Yeah, we didn't know. We thought there was just one, and so we started sending resources out that way to help, and then here comes another tornado, the one that actually went towards Shawnee, and it was probably quarter to half a mile away from us once we got out there. So that was interesting.
And so what exactly exploded, and where were you, and what did you experience when you arrived on the scene?
It was like a oil derrick and pump jack area. Whenever I got there, it was just on fire. After we got out there, and it was just out of control on fire.
But what did you witness shortly after you got there, though?
We had a couple firefighters that were out there that at first they got put out that they were trapped. And then before I got out there, we had our emergency management and all that, but our firefighters ended up being okay. So that was the main reasons that we were all heading out there also. Well,
when you got there, how did that fire actually extinguish? Did it extinguish itself? What happened to put it out?
So the second tornado that came through, it actually pulled all of the oxygen out of the fire and extinguished it. And the fire department had to put very little water on it from what I was told.
And so that was kind of mind-blowing when you were able to witness that, wasn't it?
It's definitely I've never seen anything like that before.
Okay, and so this fire goes out. Now you know, wow, we're dealing with another tornado or something, because it's obviously rather dark. It's still lightning and crazy. What kind of radio traffic was going on? Was there any problems anywhere else for people?
Yeah, I mean, we had it started coming out that there was trees down across Hardesty Road, which was where we had just came from. There was calls coming in that like people were trapped in a storm cellar, and so it was just basically trying to get everybody as much help as we could. Once the Bethel, we knew that the Bethel area was okay, then we started focusing on Shawnee because we knew that Shawnee had taken a pretty good hit.
You had mentioned to me something about your car and you actually being in your vehicle, which we do not want to be in a vehicle during a tornado. But Deputy Strand, what did that feel like in your vehicle?
It was unsettling. It would, so if this was my patrol car, I could feel it moving up a little bit and to the right, which would have been to the east where the tornado was, and it kind of pulls on your car, and you have that unsteady feeling of, oh, what's fixing to happen.
Man, and so I know the professional that you are all about the business, but did you have any other concerns going on, as Jared Strand, when you see this kind of devastation move across your path?
Oh yeah, I had concerns. I mean, I live out in Bethel, so I had concerns that my house was hit. And then I have family. My grandfather lives in the neighborhood off of 45th Street near Kickapoo that was hit, and nobody could get a hold of him. And so that was a whole nother concern. And so, whenever you're out there, you got to take care of business, and then kind of worry about that stuff later. So
sure. Well, worrying about that stuff, how did your grandpa fare through the storm?
luckily he was okay. He had some damage. I think at the end of it, he had about $25,000 in damage to his house.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as anything else, I mean, we were able to get a hold of him. My brother went by there and was able to get a hold of him. So
Fantastic. Well, with you mentioned the damage. What kind of damage were you able to witness on the ground in the moment of the storm as you start coming back into Shawnee? What was it like for you?
It was. You're just driving and you see all power lines down, and so you couldn't get into Shawnee off of 45th Street. MacArthur and all that was backed up from people, trying to get into Shawnee to check on family or to help. But power lines down. I went by OBU and seen all their damage to everything, and then some homes that were okay, and then a home right next to it was just completely leveled, and so it was interesting to see.
Yeah, interesting. I bet we needed a lot of help. How did that go in the aftermath? What did you think about how we handled the aftermath with helping one another?
I think it went great. I mean, my grandfather, my brother went over there and was doing work in his backyard on some trees, and there was people coming by, if not every day, every other day, offering to help him. Hey, do you need any help? Because they would see him out in the front yard. No, my grandkids are here. We've got it handled. And so I think that was great. It was good to see everybody coming together and helping in a time of need. But then, of course, you always have those people that try to capitalize on it also. And so that's the unfortunate part of it.
It is unfortunate, but that's why we have deputies like yourself. Deputy Strand.
Yeah, it is.
We certainly appreciate you, and what a fantastic story. You were right on ground zero the night of the storm. Thank you very much for putting your life on the line for the rest of us.
No problem.
And Jared, thank your family for us as well.
I will. Thank you.
It's an honor to talk to you, man, and we'll talk to you again, I hope, very soon.
All righty. Thank you.
Wow. So that night, can you imagine being a first responder, you guys?
I mean, I may not have been a first responder, but my son had some friends over in that area, and so he couldn't get a hold of them, so he wanted me to go with him to check on them. And driving through that area was like, there were so many trees and power lines everywhere that you couldn't even see the houses. Like I couldn't find the houses because there were so many trees. And if you got to an area close, you might have 100 people driving down trying to get to other people, and you can't even get around anywhere. Like it was pretty terrible.
Well, in talking to the authorities, that's a huge dilemma, is because people like yourself and your son worried about people in that area. You get in your car and you go down there, but then there is so much congestion that the emergency vehicles and the danger just goes through the roof. So that's something as a community we probably need to figure out in planning a little bit more for everybody to realize, okay, we know you want to go check on loved ones. This is how you do it, rather than getting in your car and going there. That's touchy. I don't know. I don't know if you can make that happen.
Well, I mean, and you don't just have the people checking on people. You have the people that just want to see the devastation because they want to see, they like seeing the wreckage too.
Yeah,
over there.
Yeah, and that's just not the best thing. From everybody that I've talked to, I understand that's just not the best thing. But we have to figure that out somehow logistically, I think, as a community, in case it happens again in the future. What about you, G? Anything?
I live out north of town, so we didn't get hit near as hard. But I know my house, like we had a fence down that we just put up the week before, and then some other things around the house. So I didn't think it was really that bad until the next day I went out to go do some interviews with people, and it was crazy. And that was the day after, so they had already done a lot of stuff to try to open stuff back up. It was still crazy.
Well, and then we get into that immediate aftermath, and there's a lot of people with a lot of damage, and there's a lot of businesses in that corridor that get destroyed. And it was kind of unique for a local Shawnee family, the ownership group of the local Sonics. They get 2 stores knocked out, and we wanted to bring them on and talk with Brian and Candice Winterringer. Hey, thank you very much for coming on with us today.
You're welcome.
Good to see you, Danny.
Well, it's always great to see you, Candice. And you guys, you're unique with the tornado. You actually had 2 businesses destroyed. Tell us about that call when it came in. Brian, you guys were in El Reno reopening a different store, and all of a sudden you start hear tornadoes come through Shawnee. What was the call or did you have to come back to Shawnee to find your businesses destroyed?
Yeah, we were opening up a new store in El Reno, and matter of fact, that was had been closed for about 1.5 years. So finally got it open on that was April 19th that morning. I was there all day long, and about 10 o'clock, my phone started blowing up that, hey, there's a lot of tornadoes in Shawnee. I was still in El Reno, but I was leaving the store about that time and heading back to Shawnee to see what was going on. I was getting pictures. People were texting me, and it took me about an extra 1.5 hours to get there because I-40 was closed down. So we had to detour out to McLeod through Harris and all these places. I finally ended up on MacArthur and went through kind of the back of OBU and made my way up to the Sonic there on Kickapoo. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, the canopies were destroyed. We couldn't see anything else. But come to find out, both those canopies are structurally not sound, so we're tearing them both down. And we had roof damage and AC damage. Wow. The other store on North Kickapoo, it wasn't damaged near as bad, but it had canopy damage on 2 other canopies and also some roof damage. Fortunately for that store, we were only down. We were closed. We got power back on that Monday, and we opened up on Tuesday at that store.
Well, no, so you, on the North store, which is where a lot of people see a lot of damage up there, it kind of jumped over you a little bit.
That's correct. It just really damaged the back part of all 3 canopies. So we got our maintenance man out there. We had to straighten them all up to open back up.
And like everyone else, we lost our sign there too. Yeah. Just like everyone else on that.
Sure. And Candice, you have an extensive HR background, professional background. Tell us a little bit about your background, because I'm sure your first heart went to, what about our employees and how are we going to be able to help them and take care of them?
Well, I've spent 30 years in the staffing industry and running our company and our HR for our company. And we sold that company and I took off for a year. And then Brian convinced me that I really needed to come work, with the family full time. So I've been doing that for about 8 years. And so I'm kind of the people person and the HR with our company. And so, yeah, that was our first concern. Is everyone okay? Is everyone's homes okay? Who needs what? That was really our first priority.
And that's one of the beautiful things of family business, I think, is you really can have that attention on a local basis. And in fact, you had come through, I think, a catastrophe at El Reno, which is why that store got closed down originally. But now let's move forward in the days after you get the North Kickapoo store open. Was it business as usual immediately?
No, it was a little bit slow. There was a lot of traffic down there, a lot of things still going on. So it's slowly coming back a little bit. Of course, we won't have a front sign for probably 2 more months. But overall, it's okay, but it's not what it was last summer.
I think people are afraid to drive down North Kickapoo with the light situation.
Sure.
And
Well, we
at least
need to
hear is people say, I avoid that part of town, but we need people to come back to that part of town and support the businesses over there.
It is so true, Candice, in the sense of it's really not that bad. In fact, I think with the lights down, I'm actually able to get through there even quicker than I used to at having to stop at the multiple lights. But it's important for you guys, number one, local business and local family, but also it's important that people realize that's a heavy part of town that supports the recovery of our town with the retail sales tax that everybody has to pay.
Absolutely. Like we said, our sales are down slightly there because I think it's mostly, we thought maybe it would be better since the one store's closed. Fortunately, the other Sonics in town are picking up some of that. So we're able to still serve our guests from the other stores. But we're anxious to get the one, near Federal open across from OBU as soon as we can.
Yeah, I lovingly call that the OBU Sonic. Tell us about that. What's the progress in getting that one open, and what are your projections?
It's very slow. We're going to remodel both the canopies and the roof and even move the building, add a little bit onto the building in the front.
Oh, okay.
So it's more than just, we're going to use this opportunity to kind of reskin the whole Sonic.
And we're going to redirect the drive-through where right now you're kind of captured in that U. So we're going to move those canopies over so people aren't stuck in the drive-through, which I think will make most of our guests very happy.
Yeah, I agree. I'm glad to hear. So I like to say that great things come out of destruction. It sounds like in that location that was hit, that you're able to do perhaps some updating and remodeling that would have had to take place in the next 3 to 5 years anyway.
That's correct.
Yeah, so this year you will see the new reskin look, the new Sonic look, the new signs this year in all of our stores in Shawnee.
That's awesome. Well, you guys do a great job. And I don't know that and Brian, help me with this. I mean, born and raised in Shawnee, I don't know that there's a better business success story coming out of our community than Troy Smith and your grandfather and others around town who had the integral part of starting the Sonic franchise.
Yep, it's probably been about 60 years ago, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, we'll celebrate next year the 60th year of our first, family-owned store being opened.
That is amazing.
We'll have a big celebration.
Yes.
Really?
And Brian, it was your grandfather, I believe, that actually helped in the lawyer process necessary to get it all done and get Troy off and running for store number 1.
That's correct. My grandfather and my father both helped out on that and wrote the first franchise agreement.
That's awesome. I didn't know that Jim was a part of that. He must have been a young buck lawyer at that time.
He was, yes.
Well, hey guys, You know, the entire community loves, first of all, your family, and second, the Sonic business and what it means to us, worldwide. Thank you very much for your efforts, and thank you for planting the Sonic franchise here and really having it explode with all 4 locations. Thanks a lot, and thank you.
Danny, thank you for all you do to help all the businesses in Shawnee. It's very much appreciated. And I know our employees appreciate it very much as well.
Well, we love you guys. Thank you for those kind words, and we'll see you soon, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Danny.
See ya. What a story about Sonic. Did you guys realize that the local Sonic now almost 60 years?
That's a long time. That's way before me. How about you?
I'm close. But Gavin, how do you like Sonics? Do you visit them a lot around here?
I do. I grew up in Peyton, so right around Prague, that was really all we had was Sonic.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up on Sonic, and I got here, and we got 4 of them. So I'm like, all right, let's go. And I love the all-day lunch, so I can just go in at any time because I don't like breakfast food.
Okay.
But if I want something, if I want a burger at 9 a.m., I go to Sonic.
That's pretty
just
wild.
What I love about Sonic.
I was going to ask you what your go-to was, but you already had it down.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm the same way. I won't do breakfast, but I'll do a burger at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Oh man, I try to stay away from those now. I am getting to that 60-year moment. Maybe we're thinking about that, but there's been a lot of struggles in town, and there's been a lot of, now it feels like a lot of time since that tornado, but really it's still just a blink, and we've got a long way to go. And what are we going to do? Well, the United Way of Pottawatomie County is right in the thick of it, and we are privileged to have the United Way of Pottawatomie County Executive Director Sandy Vanderburg here with us to talk to. Sandy.
Hello, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
First of all, congratulations on the hard work that you have put in over the last couple of months. You've raised nearly $750,000 for us and our recovery efforts. Tell us about that effort.
Sure. Well, I will say that myself or United Way, we cannot take all the credit for that. It really has been a community effort. From day one, there were business leaders that stepped up and wanted to get involved, and they knew that, putting together some big donations to get the ball rolling would be really imperative. And so there's some phenomenal leaders we have in this community that have really stepped up, and I want to make sure that we give credit to the Citizen Pottawatomie Nation, who's donated $100,000, Sovereign Bank, another $100,000, SSM Health right here in Shawnee, $100,000, the Avitas Foundation. They gave an initial gift of $100,000, and then they've matched an additional $200,000. And Bank First has also come in with $50,000. So those leaders have really stepped up, and it's gone a long way.
Well, without an organization like yours leading the charge, those things don't happen as smoothly and seamlessly as you've allowed them to happen. I saw your presentation today, and I was very impressed, but you mentioned something that really hit home was, you know what? After the initial shock, we think, oh, everything's going to be better, and we're 2 months, almost 3 months out, and there's still so much work to do. And you actually mentioned this is going to be a years of process. Where are we in our recovery, Sandy? And what do we have to expect moving forward?
Yeah, like you said, this is not a process that happens overnight. There's that hope that in 30 days, everything would have been cleaned up and we would have been back to pre-tornado. But unfortunately, that's just not the case. And it's a long process. Long-term recovery can take 3, maybe 5 years. I mean, I'm committed to this for the next 5 years to seeing our long-term recovery, until every home we can get every home back to the way it was pre-tornado. That's the goal. But yeah, we're looking at 3 to 5 years.
Well, so the federal government came in with FEMA, and they've doled out over $1 million now. How proud I have to say, I'm very proud of our community to say, you know what, we stepped up on our own and have matched almost what the federal government has been able to do, but we have that as a goal, in the sense of we have $1 million goal, and that means we still need $250,000 just to meet our goal.
That's right. That's right. Yep. I always like to make sure people know that FEMA is not a replacement for insurance, right? So FEMA only covers 30 to 35% of a citizen's need to get to total recovery. And so it's our job as the community to come together to raise that $1 million. And really, that may not be enough. You know, a million is the need for long-term recovery. And so it's awesome to see those FEMA dollars come in. But as a community, it's our responsibility to take care of our neighbors.
It sure is. And $1 million sounds like a lot, but we also heard some numbers today that just puts it into perspective. For city assets alone, just the assets of the city, there was more than $36 million worth of damage. And when we look at the city itself, I cannot believe how much money they have to spend up front before they get any reimbursement. For debris removal alone, Sandy, it was $18 million or so.
That's right. Yep. Our city has done a phenomenal job of taking care of our community. And so, you know, I am so thankful as a citizen here for everything the city has done for our community. But of course, the $1 million that we're talking about here, it will go directly to survivors to help with their homes, right? And so those numbers from the city, like that doesn't include residential homes, right? And so it's a big task.
It's huge. When we talk about that, we're looking in hundreds of millions of dollars of damage. And when we talk about 3 to 5 years, I understand that a group has come together, and I guess this is the natural progression. What I heard from you today is you just follow the process. No, you hit your insurance, then you go to SBA, then you go to FEMA, then you start over again, and you continue to go. And the process now kind of transitions into a long-term recovery. Tell us about the group that's meeting and how we might be involved in those kind of things.
Yeah, so whoever wants to get involved in the long-term recovery group is welcome. Everyone is welcome to the table. There's 3 particular areas that we want to make sure are represented: money, materials, and manpower. So if you have funding available, you can donate to the Shawnee Recovery Fund, or your organization, you can come to the table and help with that funding directly. Materials, and so we're going to be looking for shingles, building supplies, things like that, right? And then manpower. Volunteers are going to be needed to help offset the cost of labor, because that's where a lot of the money goes to when you're talking about repairs to a home. And so anyone who thinks that they might be able to provide some sort of resource, or even if you're just curious, you are welcome to the long-term recovery group meetings. And that group will probably be meeting for the next 3 to 5 years.
Well, definitely Shawnee CTV wants to be a part of that. If you don't mind adding us to that email list so we can have the information and try to help any way we can. But an entity stepping in now that has a lot of experience with this is as I understand it, the Catholic Charities out of Oklahoma City, but they have a special case for Shawnee. Tell us about that and how they're going to help.
That's right. So Catholic Charities has actually been hired. They're under contract through the state. The state of Oklahoma has hired Catholic Charities. FEMA does provide dollars in order to be able to make that contract happen. But Catholic Charities will have case managers specifically for Pottawatomie County. And in fact, there will be case managers that will be here on the ground with us in Shawnee that will be taking calls. And so it's going to be a 405 area code. You know, when you call that you're going to get someone that's here in Shawnee that understands the situation. For now, we have a case manager that's working out of the Oklahoma City Catholic Charities office, and his name is Kyle, and he is taking phone calls right now. And so I want to make sure that our citizens know that if they need help or they, FEMA is a tough process, right? And if you have to file an appeal, that can be a lengthy process, right? It might be confusing, but there's someone to help. So Catholic Charities is able to help people walk through that process. And then if they have unmet needs after insurance, after FEMA, after SBA, if there's an unmet need, those case managers are going to bring cases to the long-term recovery group, and so that as a group we can take care of them.
Okay, so we have the number down there for Catholic Charities. If I have unmet needs, is that the number I need to call directly in order to maybe get some help and also maybe get an ear at the table at the unmet committee group?
Yes, you should call Kyle directly at Catholic Charities. And now Catholic Charities has received the case files from FEMA directly. So if your home was in the path of the tornado, they're already going to know that, and so they'll be able to confirm your address and start finding out what your needs are.
That is wonderful. Sandy Vanderburg, you're doing a great job. I know it's a tireless job for you, but you know what? You were made for this, weren't you?
Oh, I don't know about that, but we're figuring it out as we go.
Well, that's how life goes. That's what it's all about. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule and informing all of us with what's going to be happening over the next years to try to help bring Shawnee back to pre-tornado. But I always love to say that great things come from disasters, and I know you feel the same way.
Absolutely. We have a great community, and everyone is committed to seeing this through.
Thank you very much for your time, Sandy.
Thank you.
Wow, guys, what stands out about all three of these guests is they really love Shawnee.
Yeah, I've noticed that. Yeah.
It is really cool to be a part of this community. Okay, $1 million. Does that sound like something, to you guys that a community should be able to raise our size?
I mean, it should be able to, but it's not what I would think would even happen. No.
But then looking at what she was saying about, CPN gave $100,000, Sovereign Bank gave $100,000,
SSM
$200,000. Yeah.
Avitas.
I mean, that's a lot of money, and it's still not at $1 million yet.
That's true. It really is, and you couldn't have set me up better for another Irishman. Yes, that's right. The Edge, another Irishman here, and he was a heralded coach of the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame, and he says, I use the word hungry to describe what I mean when I talk about desire. Being hungry provides you with the physical and mental energies necessary for success. The sacrifices that are necessary become easier when one places a goal or objective at a high level. And that was Ara Parsegian, head football coach and sports broadcaster, head football coach of Notre Dame back when I was a kid. I really liked that guy. That's a high goal.
It is. I like the quote, shoot for the stars and you land on the moon.
Yeah.
Is that, yeah, same thing. And it seems a lot easier than whatever that guy said.
That's a Gavin Cooper quote right there. We throw one out.
There you go.
Shawnee, she also mentioned that was just the beginning. It could be just the beginning. And this is money that goes directly to residents to help with the recovery effort. So we can all get behind that and continue to build our community. I hope you enjoyed today's show. Next week, we get to come in strong. Shawnee CTV, believe it or not, has now completed 20 seasons of Shawnee High School sports, and we've got some things very special planned for you in the upcoming weeks. We certainly hope that you stay with us and stay tuned in to talk to people, because when we talk to people around our community, great things happen.
Like and subscribe. Don't forget.
See you next week.
Later.
Like, subscribe. I gotta remember to say those things.